Hi guys, Ozcon here, and today I'll be discussing a pending topic in Australia, gay marriage. Now, there are two ways the government has actually thought about going about this topic, with the coalition led by the Liberal Party wanting a plebiscite to let the people decide if the change will be implemented, yet Labor and the Greens, the two main left-wing parties of Australia, have repeatedly blocked the plebiscite proposal in the Senate as they want a private members' bill. This essentially means that the left wants all the SJW MPs to vote, regardless of public opinion surrounding the issue. Richard Di Natale, leader of the Greens, said that a plebiscite would be harmful and divisive and would result in hate speech directed at the LGBTI community. Greens LGBTIQ spokesperson Jeanette Rice said that Australia had fallen behind the rest of the world on same-sex marriage. Well, maybe if your party stopped blocking the plebiscite that will allow for gay marriage to be legalised, we might catch up with the rest of the world in terms of this issue. Bill Shorten, leader of the Labor Party, claimed gay teenagers would commit suicide if the plebiscite was rejected. And Adam Bant, a Greens MP, said, "In the end, love will win. The question is how long we force loving couples to wait, how long we force LGBTIQ people to be less equal and have fewer rights than everyone else," as well as saying that a plebiscite was a bigot's plan. Now, in Australia, you can get civil unions for same-sex couples. A civil union is essentially a marriage with a different name. The gay community in Australia is trying to legalise marriage for gay people. Now, this would be like white people wanting to be called Asians. The gay people are trying to take ownership of a word that has no historical emphasis on their life. Marriage was always conducted by the church between a man and a woman. If you try and water down that obviously very symbolic gesture, if you try and water that down by also having the option available to gay people, well, then the whole societal construct in terms of the sanctity of marriage and the religious bond in respect to people wanting to get married, that's all thrown down the drain. Now, this comes hot off the heels after a whole host of companies mailed a letter to the government expressing their desire to see gay marriage legalised. After this, a board member of IBM called Mark Allaby was receiving calls for him to resign from IBM, which was actually a signatory on the gay marriage letter. Now, they called for him to resign due to him being associated with Christian associations, despite Allaby making no remarks about the letter or gay marriage. So a man not actually voicing his opinions. He didn't say he was for it. He didn't say he was against it. That he was on the board for a company which wrote a letter to the government expressing their desire to see gay marriage legalised. Now, a member of the Jewish LGBTIQ community in Australia uncovered that Allaby was associated and a member of Christian organisations. There's nothing illegal about being part of a Christian organisation. There is nothing wrong with being part of a Christian organisation. It doesn't mean that he automatically opposes gay marriage. Now, despite this, despite him making no comments whatsoever about gay marriage and the issue, they called for him to resign. They called for him to hand in his resignation, lose his job, because he dared associate himself with an organization that is religiously based in Christianity. Now, this comes to no surprise that Bill Leake, the late controversial cartoon artist in many Australian newspapers, has called LGBTI activists the Rainbow Gestapo. You can see it all the time. Many members of the gay community have called for tougher anti-discrimination laws in terms of free speech against gay people. So they want people who criticize gay marriage, debate it, or simply just oppose it to be restricted in terms of what they can and cannot say. Now, I'm on the Conversation here website and has posted an article recently called "On the Marriage Equality Plebiscite. Let's not confuse free speech with a free-for-all. Okay, I'll read it out to you just so you can make up your own minds about this. In recent days, some of the proponents of a plebiscite on marriage equality have argued it is important because it will allow people to air their views. That is important. A plebiscite needs to be two-sided. You must have people expressing their views for the yes and the no sides, respectively. The government has suggested that it would be democracy at work, with Attorney General George Brandis saying that Australians can handle hurtful arguments because we're a democracy, and that is accustomed to robust public discussion. That is a very mature comment. People should be able to handle hurtful arguments. Don't be a child. But opponents are worried about the likely tone of any plebiscite on same-sex marriage. Labor claims the campaign is likely to unleash vitriol and vilification against the LGBTI community. Advocates of marriage equality have argued the same point, with Shireen Faulkner from Parents and Friends of Lesbians and Gays worries it will be a platform for hate. Well, in terms of Labor talking about vitriol and vilification, they're not calling out the members of the LGBTI community for calling for Mark Allaby to resign based on his faith, based on his association with his faith. And yet they're calling for no plebiscite because it will allow for hate speech. Seriously, are you serious? Who is right? What are the free speech issues at stake in the plebiscite? Those who support an open discussion tend to assume that more public debate is inherently better than less. That is true. The more people talking about a specific topic, the more you can make up your mind, the more you can analyze the pros and cons of a certain topic and make up your mind in terms of the plebiscite. What this view fails to understand is that all speech is not necessarily good. In fact, sometimes speech can harm by marginalizing, excluding, and discriminating against other people in ways that actually prevent them from participating in the debate. Okay, so they're clearly referencing that free speech from the no camp, which will mainly be made up of Christians and people who oppose same-sex marriage, they are insinuating in that quote that, I'll repeat the quote, in fact, sometimes speech can harm by marginalizing, excluding, and discriminating against other people in ways that actually prevent them from participating in the debate. They're clearly saying that the Christians will spread hate and essentially intimidate people into not participating in the debate. Well, the tables have been turned here, and yet they are unwilling to call out the people who called for the resignation of Mark Allaby just for daring to adhere to his own religion. Okay, I'll keep reading on. But this principle contains an implication within it that it is not always recognized. This is the implication that in order for free speech to do all those good things that it is meant to do, as many people as possible need to participate in it. That is true. As many people talking about a certain topic, you can make up your mind a lot easier. This means it is reasonable to ask people to exercise the responsibility that is intrinsically connected with a free speech right. This is the responsibility to speak well, by which I mean not harming by excluding, marginalizing, or discriminating against others in a way that they are not able to participate in the debate fully and openly. So they are essentially saying that the no camp of the plebiscite in terms of yes and no, for and against, the no camp who is anti-gay marriage will bully people into not supporting the plebiscite. This is ridiculous given the actions of the so-called Rainbow Gestapo. She goes on to say, that isn't free speech, it's a free-for-all, in which the loudest, the most bullying, or those with the most money get to speak, and the rest just have to listen while being excluded from having a voice. Well, you've perpetuated that. in supporting the members of the community that have called for the resignation of a man because he dared to be Christian. That is bullying. You are essentially intimidating him to signing over his unemployment form. You are insinuating that only the Christians will be the loud bullying ones. No doubt there will be some intolerant Christians, but quite frankly, there are some very intolerant left-wing pro-gay people in terms of the context of this debate. Speech that harms does not equate with democratic debate, but we have heard no commitment from the government or from supporters of the marriage equality plebiscite to lead public debate in ways that discourage or reduce the risk of harmful speech. I'm a free speech supporter. I think that all speech, regardless of how racist, sexist, xenophobic, homophobic it seems, regardless of how illegal in terms of the current measures it seems. Okay, here's the worldview in terms of my approach to free speech. Everything outside inciting violence against an individual or a group should be allowed. You should be allowed to say rather terrible things. If they offend people, well, too bad. The fact is, they're trying to harden anti-discrimination laws in terms of free speech. They're trying to tighten the buckle on the Christian wing of the debate by forcing them to essentially not talk because that would be deemed bullying. This is why people are more and more people are likely to vote no. If you are all for being inclusive and being diverse, and yet are discriminating essentially, you are trying to block out the largest religion in Australia by saying that their opinions are automatically harmful and, in the words of Bill Shorten, would help teenagers commit suicide if the plebiscite was blocked. Well, then you're flat out stupid. You are essentially being the biggest hypocrite in the world by saying that the other side's opinion is inherently harmful, is inherently discriminatory, is inherently bigoted, and therefore you should support us. That is wrong. That is not democratic. There should be two sides to everything. I will explain and elaborate more on these topics later on in later videos, but I hope that you just get the fact that the left in Australia, they're not willing to support two-sided democracy. They want to hammer down their agenda through the throats of ordinary Australians by expounding the belief that all Christians and all people who oppose same-sex marriage are inherently bigoted, intolerant, and harmful, whilst also blocking the necessary procedure in terms of democracy. They repeatedly blocked a plebiscite. They want a private members' bill, which will allow all the SJW MPs to allow same-sex marriage to be legalised regardless of what the public opinion feel. I'll see you in the later videos. I was kind of out.